February 21st, 2012. Brent Spiner and Terrance Jenkins asked Gail to be with them in a Skype session. Jesus Christ was with Brent Spiner. Jesus informed Gail, Brent, and Terrance that Zach Knight had hacked into the computer satellite servers for brain-to-brain communications and had been impersonating Jesus to Gail as her Jesus Christ lover and had made Gail pregnant with his black devil semen. Terrance was horrified, but Gail, knowing how much Jesus loved her, had faith in Jesus. Jesus aborted all of Zach Knight's babies in Gail and warned Gail never to trust what she heard in her brain, especially if the voice claimed to be Jesus. Jesus spent several hours with Gail, Brent, and Terrance on Skype and answered a lot of questions for them and completely restored Jesuit damage to Brent's penis. Jesus stated that if he needed to talk to Gail in the future, he would do so only through Brent Spiner, that he disliked computer technology. February and March 2012. Gail's communications with Brent took on a different character, as Zach Knight now seemed to communicate to Gail through a fake Brent quite often now. March the 9th, 2012. Jesus communicated to Gail through Brent Spiner as Brent wrote what Jesus told him via Gail's Skype connection. Jesus emphasized to Gail that he will not be marrying Gail in the millennium, that when he said he would fill Gail with his semen in the future millennium, he meant that he would do so through Brent Spiner, that Brent would be Gail's husband in the millennium. Jesus said he would officiate the wedding and that his semen would be his wedding gift to Brent and Gail. Jesus also emphasized that he would never use the brain-to-brain computer satellite servers to communicate with Gail, not even indirectly through Brent Spiner, that the Antichrist Zach Knight had been impersonating him to Gail through the brain-to-brain servers. Jesus told Gail he would cure her Jesuit-induced yeast infection and instructed Gail to stop all her supplements with the exception of a multivitamin. Gail has not seen a regular doctor for years because they can't help her, though she does see a psychiatrist because she needs to see the psychiatrist to be on Seroquel. So she was only on natural medicine supplements anyways. Jesus recommends Gail go to her son's graduation. Gail worries that her ex-husband will be there to cause trouble, but Jesus tells her to go, that her son needs her. March 15th, 2012. Jesuits go bold with their new website, Crazy Gail Wiki. Gail's men are outraged over how they portray Gail and over their invasion of privacy. Gail tells Brent she had to add some supplements back to her regimen despite what Jesus told her, that her symptoms became unbearable. Brianna Jenkins and Rule 13 fight over Gail's son, and beautiful Brianna, genetic daughter of Gail and Terrance, wins and claims her husband. Brianna thwarts a Jesuit plot to use semen to try to mess with Gail's genetic profile to target her genes and destroy her. Jesuits become aggressive and posted a video at their YouTube channel that Gail had removed from the internet. Gail marvels at their resourcefulness. Jesus Christ makes a movie about Gail that he drops off at the Gabriel Chanafox News Channel. Her men love it. Jesuits later make a counterfeit of this movie that ends with Gail as a paranoid schizophrenic. Vladimir is furious. Jesuits continue to expand their website about Gail called Crazy Gail Wiki. Gail's men cannot believe all the trouble the Jesuits go to in their attempts to portray Gail as crazy. April 4th, 2012. Jesuit Laurie McBride, a clone, starts a fire in a Moscow skyscraper that makes international news. Vladimir Putin was in the skyscraper at the time and barely escaped with his life. Laurie did this while he took a pee in the restroom, burning his pubic hairs. 2 men with him burned to death. Several days later, Vladimir would try to save Barack Obama while researching a distress call that Gail received from a Jesuit defector. Vladimir finds the head of Barack Obama kept alive with blood-filled tubes, like how Gail describes in her novel Silver Skies. Vladimir barely escapes from this compound with his life and realizes that as he tried to rescue the Jesuit defector, he fell into a Jesuit trap. The only way to escape was to bomb the building that housed Barack Obama, but it was a mercy killing because Barack begged Vladimir to take him out, because the only part of his body still alive was his head. The real Barack Obama died early April 2012. Jesus Christ replaced him with an automaton, kind of like an android, who resembles almost exactly the real Barack Obama. Jesuit technology in this area is quite advanced, as the real Pope John Paul II, just like the real Pope John Paul II was killed years before the Jesuits, and then years before the Jesuits knocked off his automaton in 2005. This automaton would be re-elected as president in November. The Barack Obama automaton would be re-elected as president in November 2012. The automaton is fully capable of carrying out presidential duties, but he is not Barack Obama. Terrance Jenkins states that when he talks with Barack now, he can tell it's an automaton. Jesuits attacked Gail's Windows Vista computer, and she hired her tech service to fix it. Jesuits take over the tech service for Cyber Defender and sabotage her computer. Eventually, Vladimir has his own computer people work on Gail's computer, and they fix it. Brent advises Gail never to use a tech service anymore for computer problems, but to use Vladimir's men. Gail buys memory chips and expands the memory on both her computers. Jesuits harass Gail on the road, and Gail's men come to Florida to arrest these Jesuits. Jesuits get Gail's beautician, and he deliberately botches her hair, gives her a horrible haircut. Gail has to go to another beautician to get her hair fixed. Her hair ends up very short. Later, she would get a postcard from her beautician from South America, which he claims he wrote with his teeth because Jesuits chopped his arms off when he was on vacation in Mexico and kidnapped him and replaced him with his clone. May 2012. Gail flies on a jet with her mother to go to her son's graduation. Her family snubs her and treats her like she's crazy. She sticks to her guns and does not allow them to intimidate her, and strives to behave as normally as possible, but lets them know that she realizes they are not treating her with respect. The flight to and from her destination was rocky. Vladimir reports that Jesuits tried to attack her plane, but Vladimir protected her jet by personally escorting her jet in the sky with his supersonic jet. Jesus promised a safe trip, and it was so. She learned later that Jesuits threatened her family with harm if they wouldn't treat her like she was crazy while she was with them. When Gail returned home, Brent encouraged Gail to keep faith in her family. May the 9th, 2012. Gail's men paid a surprise visit to Gail's family in Georgia to prove to them that Gail was not crazy. Her men report that Gail's relatives in Georgia confessed that Jesuits threatened to kill them if they wouldn't treat Gail like she was crazy. May the 11th, 2012. Jesuit Rule 13 wins a Nobel Prize in Literature for her defamatory website about Gail, Crazy Gail Wiki, or crazygail.com. Gail's men are outraged. They determined later that the reason Rule 13 got the prize is because the real Nobel Prize Committee was replaced with retards. Vladimir Putin was especially outraged and cursed in Russian because when Rule 13 accepted her prize, she wore a Nazi hat and insulted Gail, commenting about Gail's false eyelashes. May the 12th, 2012. A Jesuit impostor impersonates Gail at the Church of Gail website. Gail is horrified and warns her men that several of the posts at the Church of Gail website she did not write. Several days later, her men find the impostor, a woman who worked off her computer while faking to be Gail. After this woman is caught and executed, Vladimir changes the Church of Gail website so that once a post is entered, it cannot be modified, because this Gail faker was going in and modifying Gail's posts. May 14, 2012. The Nobel Prize Committee retards are arrested for conspiracy law violations for honoring the Nazi Rule 13 and giving her the Nobel Prize. They were very difficult to arrest and put up quite a fight to Gail's men. May 15, 2012. After a year without a period, Gail has a period. She thought she was in menopause. She tells Brent. Brent informs her that Jesuits contaminated the tampon she used to fight her yeast infection with fertility drugs, and so her period came back. Brent advised her to stop using tampons. When Gail did this, she did not get a period the next month or any time after. Gail's ex-husband begins harassing her about her online presence and will not differentiate between Gail's online presence and the Jesuits' Crazy Gail wiki. Gail revamps her website and YouTube channel to accommodate him, but nothing seems to satisfy him except that she take it all down, which she refuses to do because Jesus loves her online presence. The pressure from Gail's family increases and increases. Her family harasses her over her online presence, even calling the police and making up stories so that an officer shows up at her door worried about her mental health. She assures him she is fine, and he tells her if her family continues to harass her, to file a restraining order. In the meanwhile, Brent and her men battle her family in court to protect and defend Gail. Brent assures Gail and tells her not to worry. Brent's email to Gail on May 28, 2012. My beautiful wife, I hope you get this message. I am typing as fast as I can. The Jesuits are launching an attack on Church of Gail. They have already taken out our warp engines and life support. We are in dire straits out here. If they would stop launching their photon torpedoes, we could fix it. But they are furious about the Skype calls you posted to your YouTube. These were Skypes with Jesus where Jesus spoke with us on March the 9th, 2012. We need your help. Could you remove the Skype calls from your YouTube channel? We are light years away from Earth and we can't transport out of here. I will keep you updated as I can. Your husband, Brent Spiner. Gail at Church of Gail on May 30th, 2012. I forgot to mention that those videos I removed from YouTube about my Skype transactions with Jesus Christ on March 9, 2012 are all at my website. And then there was a May 31st, 2012 Skype conversation in which Brent Spiner and Terrance Jenkins told Gail that they on May 28th through the 30th, 2012 took part in a space battle between a Jesuit warship and their Church of Gail spaceship. And the Skype for this is at Gail's website. For May 31st, 2012, go to gabrielchana.com/contact.html. Gail at Church of Gail on May 31st, 2012. Hi folks, this is an email I just received from Brent Spiner, my dearest Gail. We are nearing Earth. I can finally see our sun in the distance, so I know we are getting close. Thankfully, I have my laptop with me, or I wouldn't be able to communicate with you at all from here. I need to explain what happened now that we are finally safe. The Jesuits were continuing their open fire on our location. Not a second after I sent my last email to you, a massive explosion rocked the church, and I immediately felt myself being yanked through the air down the corridor. My flailing arms managed to snag a pylon for my body to cling to. I held my laptop in my teeth, refusing to let it go. I then looked behind me to see that the torpedoes had ripped a clean hole straight through our hull. With our shields down, we couldn't close it. To my horror, Matthew McConaughey and Jim Carrey, who had been only yards away from me when the hole was breached, had been sucked right out into space. I cried out their names. Hugh Jackman was in the same position as I, holding himself tightly against a railing a little further down the corridor. And this will be continued. I would like to state that Jesus said he created Seroquel just for me, and it's for my yeast. It has cured my yeast infection.